Is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 still in a state of flux? Did Black Panther cross $700 million? And do we have some crazy Spider-Man Far From Home rumors? Yes. This is Marvel Movie News!
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Excelsior to you, our live studio audience. Listen to that crowd. So
confetti.
Excited. They're here. They're ready. There's invisible confetti.
Yeah.
Markeia sees it. Some
and
of us
silly
do.
string.
Ooh.
It's
That'll be a
everywhere.
problem
Webbing.
later. Whole thing. Hello, Marvelites. It is episode 191. That's right, a mere 9 weeks, give or take, Burning Man, until we hit episode 200 here at the House of Ideas. This is a very special episode because there are things that just dropped today that might restructure what we think of the Marvel Universe. We'll get to those. There's some Spider-Man rumors I'm very excited about. But first, we are the Marvel Movie News. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at Marvel Movie News or find us at youtube.com/Popcorn Talk Network. You can find us through Popcorn Talk's website, popcorntalknetwork.com. Follow us on Twitter at Marvel News PTN or at the Popcorn Talk. On Facebook at facebook.com/Marvel News Show. Follow us, like us, and if you retweet a link to the show whilst we are live, Aunt Anthony in the booth will retweet you.
What up, everybody? It's Aunt Anthony here, and my God, I thought Black Panther was hitting the end of his stride, but I guess he's still going strong.
Wow.
It's at 15 theaters,
Ooh.
and those 15 theaters pushed it over the 700 million, which makes it the third film in history to do that domestic.
Amazing.
3 ever.
Just
There
amazing.
we go.
So
Yeah,
dope.
it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. So
Give us more. Give us more. That's all this is telling you. Give us more. That and a Storm solo movie, but
That's
give
true.
us more.
So this-
real Storm though.
the young lady speaking.
Comic Storm. Comic Storm.
Ms. Maria Menounos loves herself some Comic Storm and some Black Panther. And where can they find you on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Maria Menounos, MarkeiaMccarty.
And the enthusiastic fist bumper beside her.
Oh, thank you. That is me, Amy Cassandra Martinez. So you can find me on all social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ.
And I'm Coy Jandreau at CoyJandreau on Instagram and Twitter. And I want to talk about that Black Panther news because that cannot give enough praise. The third film in history. You know how many movies come out every week, much less every month, much less every year, much less in history? Number 3 ever. So it held on with 15 theaters so they could push it over that line, which I thought was brilliant. It did an amazing run and then had a resurgence with Infinity War. And if they're smart, they'll release that Infinity War leading up to Infinity War Part 2 / Avengers 4, whatever they want to call it. I would love to see those 3 films all in a row. It's doing amazing on home sales. It is a movie worth the freaking $646 million it's made internationally, which means it's made almost as much internationally. It might cross that $700 million there, so a total of $1.346 billion. What do you guys think about those numbers?
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
We'll see. And also,
I'm delighted.
I went to Disneyland / California Adventure maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, and I stood in line for a while to take a picture with Black Panther, and there was this little kid right next to me, and he was so stinking excited. And to see that kind of excitement for someone that, I mean, he hasn't been in theaters that long, he hasn't
February.
been right.
Yeah,
it's
it was,
only August.
February 18th, I believe it came out, or 16th. February 16th. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and so that's just so exciting for me. I love seeing kids super pumped about these. I mean, obviously they're not super real, but they're real to us, and I think that's all that matters.
They're real
Well,
in this room
the
for sure.
ideals, the
Yes.
the themes, the representation,
Exactly.
the way that this society is depicted, those are extremely real. Those are an ideal. Those are aspirational. And then the comedy, the humor part of it, the familial relations. I mean, that and the way that the world is presented, that, and it's also, it's like a global spy thriller at the same time. I mean, this movie has all the things that it needs, and it's interesting to note that the other 2 movies in front of it, which is Star Wars Force Awakens, which we were all waiting with bated breath for that one. We were waiting for that movie to come out, and then it has such a precedent, that it had to follow, and then also that it could be a part of. And then you also have Avatar, and Avatar's Avatar. I mean, it's
It's
Avatar.
its own bar.
Yeah, it's its own adjective at this point. And then you have this, and think about it. This is the 18th movie, I believe it's 18th movie in the MCU, the MCU franchise. It was the first one that we had of the MCU franchise starting in 2008. I'm not going to start talking about Blade and everything like that. That we had, we had this type of superhero that is starring in it. We had this, African male T'Challa, Black Panther, starring in it, and it doesn't take place in America, which I love. I love that it takes place in Wakanda. Primarily Wakanda, also Busan, and so on and so forth. But with all of this combined, I mean, this movie is so picture perfect, from director to production designer. Hannah Beachler, Ruthie Carter, costume designer, and just everything about it. Angela Bassett, everything about it is amazing. It definitely deserves the place that it has now. I'm excited to where it can go.
It is,
And the music, thank you.
I still work out to that music.
So the number 3 of all time, Marvel has clearly set its bar very high. It is interesting that 2 of these 3, soon to be 3 of these 3, are all Disney films, because Disney, I think, will own Avatar by year's end, and that means that Disney wowed all the money. So, and it's also interesting how recent all those are.
Okay, in the chat room, what we said is the third film ever to cross $700 million in the U.S. theater market. So
Yeah,
I know
domestic only.
people are saying Titanic. We're saying third film
Just
ever
here.
to cross $700 million in the U.S. film market.
So then it has made 1.346 worldwide, and it is incredible numbers. It deserves it all. I love this film. Like I said, I hope it gets another re-release, get another little bump. But you know what doesn't exist? Deadpool and FX.
Yeah.
Deadpool will never get to make $700 million in FX, because that's not how TV works, nor does it exist. So we found out recently that, according to the FX CEO, Mr. John Landgraf himself, that the reason that show doesn't exist isn't because of FX. We know it's not because of Donald Glover, because Donald Glover very cleverly released a series of tweets and a script describing how much time he had, that it was clearly written that day. If you haven't read it, find it. It's been deleted since, but it's on the internet. It is the best Deadpool writing perhaps ever. But the FX CEO has said that it is exactly where you think it might have lied, and that is Marvel's fault that this doesn't exist, saying, quote, "I think that Marvel will revive it because they have the rights. They own the IP, and they have the rights to an animated adult series based on any of the X-Men characters, and based on Deadpool specifically. They didn't want to do the show that Donald and Steven Glover wrote. We would have done that show that Donald and Steven wrote, but it wasn't our decision. When Marvel decided not to do that, they basically, we parted company with them, as did Donald and Steven. Now it's totally up to them, Marvel, whether to hire someone else to do a different show." So Marvel was the reason that show doesn't exist. I am still bummed about it. It is still my favorite Deadpool I've read. It is still probably the most brutal loss of IP I think we've had in comic properties, because of the potential of Donald Glover handling that character. Donald Glover's voice is very akin to Deadpool's. The very brief foray into Deadpool we had in that script was pitch perfect. I would love to see something come out of this. I'd love to see that go forward. Obviously, Deadpool's a very marketable character. A lot of money's in there. What do you guys think about the hope of that in the future?
Well, since originally it was Slade Wilson, and then we got Wade Wilson, there's plenty of other letters in the alphabet if they want to just... Jade Wilson, Maid Wilson, and then,
Wilson.
was it Cade?
Cade's a name.
Cade, I love that. Thank you, Aunt Anthony. Yeah, Cade Wilson, they could do, and then just kind of change to the colors a little
He's
bit.
in blue with swords.
And then go with it. Or maybe change the swords to maybe like a bow, like Donatello has. So you
Just
could do
form the
that.
Ninja Turtles by way of Slade, Wade, and Cade Wilson.
There you go.
I'd watch
and
the
then you
heck
have
out
Cade
of
Wilson, and then we'll have that. And then don't make it a merc, make it something else. The vet with a mouth. I don't know. The vet with a vendetta.
There you go. So
and
instead of the Merc with
then
the mouth.
we have our show.
Done. You heard it here first.
I would love for it to come back. I don't know if they're going to want to do R-rated, especially now that Disney owns it even further. I don't know if we'll ever get a show quite like what could have been. I've said before that Donald Glover is the internet, the way his brain works, the way he moves, the way he's self-aware, that fourth wall break. This show could have been the most special comic show. But what do you think about it coming back ever?
I mean, I'm iffy about it, but curious. Curious to see what they will make if they're not going to do it with Donald Glover. I mean, maybe they like their story more, which, okay, whatever. Whatever they're going to do with it, I'm curious. I always like people to prove me wrong if I'm hesitant.
Yeah, same.
Right. So, we're always hopeful that it's going to be good. So, make it good.
Royal Hawk Studios said Blade Wilson, which is also a vampire hunting merc with a vendetta, is something I would watch for sure. So now that we've covered the two most important superheroes on the planet, we want to tell you... No bias here at Marvel Movie News for Black Panther and Deadpool at all.
Yeah. Well, the ones that exist in the MCU and Fox. Yeah.
The ones we can enjoy.
We know
date.
Captain Marvel's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. But we want to thank our sponsor today, which is MVMT, who are a watch and sunglass company. You guys have heard of MVMT, those two college dropouts who basically started their own watch company and then spread that to 160 countries. They have revolutionized fashion and watches and marketing because basically they got rid of the middleman. They got rid of the people that sell the watches by selling it directly to you, the consumer. You don't have to pay for Macy's to stay open. You don't have to pay for Macy's electricity. You don't have to pay for Macy's to spray perfume at you while you walk by and then try to get your watches. You don't have to pay any of those things. Watches can cost like $400 to $600 in this quality, and MVMT watches at just $95 up to like $150, which is still like a third of the price of a store watch. And through us, you get 15% off. So already cheap. And not in quality, but in price, and knocked off 15% more, plus free shipping if you go to mvmt.com/Marvel. They're a fantastic company. They've been great to us. They're very eye-catching. They're very simplistic while being nuanced. I love these watches, and I love their sunglasses. I get complimented very often on my watch, and I appreciate that a company goes, hey, we care about the look and making it cost-effective, because that should be what life and marketing is. Capitalism doesn't have to make you suffer. So, MVMT keeps our lights on, so we thank them. And go to mvmt.com/Marvel for 15% off plus free shipping.
Woo!
Commercialed.
Yeah, watches.
So, James Gunn, you may have heard he's been fired. You may have heard weeks ago. It may have been the talk of the town. It may continue to be the talk of the town because Mr. Dave Bautista has come out basically swinging, saying that if they don't rehire James Gunn and if they don't use James Gunn's script, he wants to be released from his contract, and he even mentions the legal ramifications, and he's just out there tweeting his mind off, saying, like, you know what, fire me, I don't care. It's pretty tense. It's definitely more bold than most people are with their careers and with their Twitter. What do you guys think about the Dave Bautista situation?
Well, with Bautista, those that don't know, and I invite you to look at his tape. He's a wrestler, like from way back when, and I mean,
back in the
day,
2000s,
back in the
you may have heard of them.
early days of the internet.
Post-Cisco,
You could
pre-Drake.
catch him on Snapchat. Yeah. I'm not surprised that out of the group of the Guardians that he's the first one to like come to the forefront and be like, hey, you know what? The script is awesome. Keep the script or I'm out. Peace. I am not surprised that Dave Bautista is the one out of them to do that. Not saying that in a bad way. It's just with the way that he's been with like wrestling in the past and like promos that he's done in the past, I'm like, yeah, this totally fits with what's going on. I'm respect to the power move of it. But also, wow, really?
He retweeted a fan's tweet asking him where he stands, and he said, quote, where I'm at right now is that if Marvel don't use that script, then I'm going to ask them to release me from my contract, cut me out, or recast me. I'd be doing James a disservice if I didn't. So, I mean, that's about as cut and dry as it gets. Variety has reported that they're looking for new directors, that James Gunn is very unlikely to come back. They were supposed to start shooting in February of 2019. The movie's supposed to come out and be one of the first ones out of the gate after Avengers 4. They need to start shooting. James Gunn poured over the script for 3 years, so whether you stand, whatever side of the James Gunn situation you stand on, removing that, a new script that quickly, nigh impossible. The cast being upset, very tricky line to walk. No matter where you stand, I think Dave Bautista standing up for his boy is really commendable. Whether you agree with the situation or not, I think it's really cool to see an actor throw his career on the line and be like, hey, I respect my friend so much, this is where I'm at. It's not even talk about the actual subject matter. That's just, you don't see that very often.
Yeah, and that script must be incredible.
Oh, I mean, he's been working on it forever.
God.
And there's babies.
Oh my God, is there going to be a Gun cut now? if only we
Sneider
had
cut
the
from
Gun.
Marvel.
Yeah, If only we'd had the Gunn script.
I'm really curious because like he had that beautiful arc he wanted to have, and I've heard rumors that the Volume 2 had a lot of studio interference, so it wasn't the movie the Gunn wanted to make. So maybe it'd be more like the fans wanted from Part 1. So I hear that he wanted to make Part 3 more like Part 1, and like there's just so much hype on this Volume 3 script. I'm really bummed. And Kurt Russell has also come out and saying that the current state of Hollywood is very sensitive, and that quote, "It's sad, but it's part of our fabric now, and I get it. But I do think we're getting a little too sensitive of maybe some of the wrong people." So he's not saying that we as a society are necessarily being sensitive. He's saying some of the wrong people are getting judged by that. Once again, wherever you stand on these quotes and these tweets, it is still interesting to see actors come out against major studios, especially as big as Kurt Russell and Drax himself. What do you think of the situation?
Well, it also just, I mean, Markeia, you touched on it, just shows how Dave Bautista is just so loyal to James Gunn, which that speaks highly to their relationship. And I just think it's so tricky. But the fact that they're for sure not hiring James Gunn again is I think, putting everyone, all the Guardians, in a very tricky spot. And for Drax to step out and you know, say this is brave. And it's also, I wonder what's going to happen to the rest of the Guardians.
Right.
If they're going to follow, what's going to happen.
I don't think they will. I think
They're not as outspoken
I think,
as...
yeah, that, and you have to think it's a whole different kind of culture. Everybody else, you know, Bradley Cooper, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, they and Palm Clementif, they're actors, and it comes from, it's a different culture than it is to be a wrestler and to like come up under, like, oh my god, there's so many wrestling things that I can get into right now, and like working under Vince McMahon, being propped up by Vince McMahon, and everything that it goes to, like being in the WWE, and then before that, I really do invite you to look at the things that Dave Bautista has gone through to get where he is now, an established actor and then part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. That is a whole different mindset, and I'm not saying it's not right for the rest of the actors to follow his lead. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's like being raised by two different families and then having to come together under one, you know, project or one series of projects under a franchise. Like I said, I am not at all surprised that he's the one that's like extremely outspoken. In a sense, he's been raised that way. And then with everybody else, I'm not saying that they don't feel strongly, but they might not feel in the same exact way with it. So I'm curious where all of this is going to end up, and I have to say my well wishes to whoever has to step into the shoes of this, because that's not fair, and I'm already sending some good vibes towards that person.
And it's a very specific corner of the Marvel Universe. It's not as cut and dry as some other franchises. It's not something that doesn't have a specific tone. It is so James Gunn. It is so important to the fabric of where Marvel's going. And he got more outspoken talking to Shortlist, saying, quote, "Nobody's defending his tweets, but this was a smear campaign on a good man. I spoke to Chris Pratt the day after it happened, and he's a bit religious, so he wanted time to pray and figure it out. And I was more like, beep this is beep. James is one of the kindest, most decent people I've ever met." So I agree with what you're saying. Like, he clearly says here that Chris is, you know, busy doing his prayer and walking around with crosses thing, and like he's more coming out swinging, being a man with like a wrestling background. He's gonna be outspoken. We've never seen anything like this with this major of a studio. So
yeah, that's the thing. It's, and with what I'm saying with bravery, it's like this is an actor putting career stuff on the line for this. So that's where the bravery thing comes in.
So we'll see.
We will see.
We've never been here
will
before.
see.
It is new and different.
Extremely interested in how this turns out, and very proud to be a wrestling fan.
And we'll obviously keep, and well, if you haven't watched Blade Runner 2049, go watch that. And we'll keep you posted. Obviously, this is going to be continuing news. If anything evolves with Guardians 3, we'll let you know as soon as possible. If anything happens with James Gunn, we've been staying right on top of it because it's very different. But in the news of Spider-Man, we also have this really cool video that I found that I love, that is Todd McFarlane, the man who invented Spider-Man's Venom, the man who invented the crazy rope webbing, the guy that was the 90s artist, along with Rob Liefeld. He started Image. Todd McFarlane's a champion, and he invented Venom's look. So check this out. We'll talk over it so YouTube doesn't get mad at us, but listen to this man's voice. It's not what you expect.
Cool, most of the spots there. So
That's a baseball fan, that is.
Tiny tweaks if my name wasn't Todd, it was God, but it only rhymes with God, so it's Todd. So we'll show you what would happen if...
So,
Todd God.
what Todd
made me
McFarlane
God.
does is he says, I love this look,
Right
this is
now,
the image, I really appreciate it, this is just what I'd do. So this is also really cool to see what comic artists do with their digital work nowadays. Like, you can actually just take an image and draw over it to this level. Like, I've never seen an art do this. So if we can skip ahead a little bit.
Which is excellent. Kids at home, this is a specialized screen.
Yeah, this don't just take a pen.
specialized pen. Don't just grab a Sharpie and go to town on like mom's laptop.
So he restructured the eyes. If you look at the eyes, he's made them more angular. He's allowed more space for the nose. Venom looks more like the comic. Now he's changing the teeth. He thought they were a little too symmetrical. They were a little too similarly shaped. He's having some gaps, making it more jagged. And then, closer to the end, he basically makes it more of a snout. He takes away, see the black lines on the side? Now he's got more of a projecting mouth. Now he's got more of a...
Oh, that's creepy.
So he's literally done 3 tiny tweaks, which obviously in CGI is hundreds of thousands of tweaks. But in this image, he's made it look like more his comic. And I love this video. I love him taking the time to do it. And then right at the very end, he does a back and forth. See? Oh, there it was.
I think it looks pretty cool to do is
Oh, there we go.
Cool.
here, and then when he smiles,
See? So, like the before and after.
right? So you get more.
So it's cool to see his comic version and then the movie version. I've never seen a comic artist take the time to do this and show fans what it might be. But here he says how much he loves it.
Good job. The trailer looks good. I'm hoping for big things on it. See you then.
Aww.
So I just thought that was really sweet. It brings the comic world into the film world and vice versa. He's coming at it from a place of positivity. He's not like, they ruined my character. He loves how it looks. Here's how he'd do it. So I thought that was really important for the fans to see. And Todd McFarlane is one of the sweetest men I've ever had the chance to talk to. He loves the fans. He loves baseball. He loves his kids. He's like a really cool guy. And he makes awesome toys. So I wanted to show you guys that. Leading into Spider-Man. Far From Home.
Yes, Spider-Man.
So, news broke today that this is what I teased at the offset, this is really big for what we've theorized. Maria Hill and Nick Fury are rumored to be in Spider-Man Homecoming. Nick Fury has never met Spider-Man. There's been rumor of spy stuff happening in this movie. If 2 of the spies are in the movie with Spider-Man, that all but confirms spy European movie like we've heard rumor of. But this also leads credence to my theory that we get the characters that ghosted back, like we've talked about, by switching it out. We haven't heard a rumor of anyone in this next phase of Marvel that we assumed gets switched out. We haven't heard Chris Evans coming back. We haven't heard any of the original Avengers coming back. We haven't heard any of that stuff. All the characters that got dusted are the ones we're hearing pop up in these other movies, which leads a lot of credence to that idea that you don't trade lives, Cap, but this time you have to. I think they have to trade lives. I think what happens in the next movie is all the ones that survived the OG Avengers are gone because Nick Fury and Maria Hill being in Spider-Man Homecoming, I think they all come back. So this rumor came out of basically the guy that we assume is Chameleon because he plays a guy named Dimitri. He posted something and in the hashtags were hashtag Nick Fury, hashtag Maria Hill, and then rumor is Nick Fury's been spotted where they're filming Spider-Man Far From Home. So what do you guys think about those 2 being in the movie?
I mean, yay. Yay, but I'm scared. I don't know. I think we already got our hearts broken. So what's going to happen now? I mean, it can't be... Well, no, it can be very bad.
Yeah, it can be worse.
It can... Okay, yeah, no, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm sort of prepared. I will be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like them... I mean, more Samuel Jackson all the time for me.
Yeah, more Maria Hill for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
Something that could be a possibility, and the only reason I'm thinking that it might not be is because in taking it back to Infinity War when Thanos first met Gamora, and then you see him in the Black Order separate people in half and then just shoot down half of them, and then like up to that point Thanos has been traveling from world to world being like, oh, okay, half of you live, half of you die, you're welcome, basically.
No problem.
Murder in chief Thanos kind of a deal. And when he did the snap, we all assume everybody died. What if he just created an alternate universe or something where everybody that was part of the snap then went to that universe or something, since he has all that power? I mean, that would be a possibility. So then that means T'Challa isn't dusted. He's just in a different dimension. But then that would also explain some of the pictures of like Tony Stark with that blonde hair.
Everyone
and
that hates
everything like
Marvel
that.
would have so much cannon fodder for like, there are no stakes, they're just in another dimension. Marvel can't even kill people.
I'm not saying it's a great dimension to be a part of, but
Oh, yeah.
But then that could be a possibility of that, like in that Spider-Man Far From Home, because Far From the original dimension. See, yeah, I should have prefaced
comes
before I
together.
started
All
talking
comes
with all
back
this.
around.
But there you go, and then that's why you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill there, because they were dusted along with Spider-Man into the other dimension, and I don't know how he gets back home from being
From there being so far.
from being on Titan, but
Oh, he gets back home.
I
think,
just
because there's a ship on Titan, the not the Milano, but the next one, that's on Titan because
Okay.
they flew it there. So Tony can just fly that home. He's good.
There you go.
But have you heard that rumor about the time stone? So
Which
there's this
one?
great-
Which
yeah, that's true.
one?
There's this really
There's
cool
so
rumor
many.
that Doctor Strange didn't send the time stone anywhere physically. It traveled through
Oh,
time
yeah,
in the
that one.
future. So that scene when he pulls it to space, he's pulling it back from the future. So there's a reality where he saw that Tony Stark knew how to use the time
Yes.
stone. So the reason he sent it to the future is because when they all go after the snap, it launches back to Downey on Titan, so he has the time stone, and that way they can rewrite stuff, which is why Avengers 4 plays with time. So he didn't move it through space, he moved it through time, and that's why he knew all the realities that's the only way we could do, because he did the stranginess.
Yeah.
So the
So
time stone,
there's
when he snapped
so
it, broke the
much.
gauntlet because it wasn't the right time displacer. And he never touched it, he used that thing and summoned it to him.
Yeah.
So that time stone could be displaced in time.
oh, there's so many theories.
Hype.
I love all the theories. But using my time stone to go back to the original question, yay! Let's have more Maria Hill and more Nick Fury.
I think it's the movie. I think it's exciting. I love an espionage Spider-Man movie. I
yeah.
think that's very different. It's going to be very uncomfortable young boy dealing with spy stuff, which would tie into some of the rumors of casting and those ideas.
And plus, it would be so fun to see Samuel L. Jackson work with Tom Holland. Oh my God,
And Jake Gyllenhaal.
that would be hilarious.
Samuel Jackson and Jake Gyllenhaal.
There were,
Oh, yeah. I'm about it. So we also have a different Spidey suit, and we have a video that Miss Amy found.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tom Holland from the set of Spider-Man Far From Home. I have an exciting announcement. The Brothers Trust is going to be offering an opportunity for you to fly from anywhere around the world, 2 people to come and hang out with me on set, here with all the guys at Marvel. It's going to be amazing. We are going to put you up in a West End hotel for 3 days. We're going to give you $1,000 spending money. You're going to get to hang out on set for a day with me. I'll give you a signed photo. You can see the whole process, the hair and makeup, the costume, the filming, everything, and it's going to be amazing. So go to the Brothers Trust website when I tell you to, because I don't think we've announced the details yet, but we will, and it'll be amazing. So stay tuned. And
He's
it'll be
the
great.
most adorable
Bye.
man. So that is
very
What's up, guys?
cute.
obviously not the Iron Spider suit. That is the Homecoming suit. So we see him back in the OG, which I like because that's more my Spidey. And I really am excited to just. I love that even Spider-Man just doing a charity thing is a mild spoiler because like Tom Holland just can't stop himself. Also, the Brothers Trust, just to plug, is an incredible charity organization. Tom Hardy, the other Spider-Man character that may or may not be related to Spider-Man, depending how Sony handles it, is a flagship member of the Brothers Trust. So the Brothers Trust is a great organization. If you want to check out a charity, they're great. But I want to see that Homecoming suit again. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a great suit.
Yeah.
I freaking love Tom Holland, and I feel like he adds such a Spidiness that seeing him back in that costume is just like bringing everything back home. I tried, guys. I tried.
There it is.
There it is. Oh, was
That's
that?
all I want.
When he did that, all I could picture was that giant ant. 'Cause he's
Yes!
Aunt Anthony, now his drums are canon.
His drums are canon.
That's him actually playing right now.
That's him.
Yeah,
That's pretty great.
That's it.
If you guys, especially audio listeners, if you want to just picture a giant ant playing the drums, that is our producer. So, speaking of Spider-Man, rumor has it that Kraven is also getting a spin-off because Sony has decided to just say yes. The Equalizer writers
It's a year of yes for
just-
Sony.
they're
it
just
is.
going for it.
They're embracing that yes.
If Steve Ditko and basically Stan Lee invented them in the first 2 years, they're getting a movie. So read Spider-Man 1 through 24 from 1963 and you'll greenlight all the things that Sony's doing according to what's happening with rumors. So Kraven is getting his own movie. The Equalizer writers are, Equalizer 2 writer is handling the scripting duties. We don't know what that means and how it's going to connect. How do you guys think all these villains villains are gonna.
Well, Kraven is one of those villains that he tends to pop up in a number of places. I mean, he's fought T'Challa, he's fought Black Panther, he's fought Spider-Man, obviously with their Sonyverse. What are they calling it? Do they have a name for it? Just Spider-Verse?
I think it's Spider-Verse.
Okay. I'm gonna say Sonyverse.
That works, yeah.
Yeah. So Kraven's one of those people that he keeps on popping up everywhere. I mean, it's rare to find a developed Marvel villain that doesn't pop up in different areas. For some reason, Killmonger hasn't popped up in other things besides Black Panther. But yeah, everybody else, I mean, Doctor Doom, he's just about taking on everybody, including Luke Cage hunting him down in Latveria for $200. I mean, comic books, heck of a drug. Yeah. So, yeah, they actually have a lot that they could do with Kraven. It's just, what?
So many villains.
It's like, are you going to do a Kraven origin story? Kind of like what they're doing with Venom? Or are you going to already have him, like, be part of one of the many affiliations that he had? I mean,
if you do like 4 villain origin movies and then do a Sinister Six, I'm about it. I always loved the idea of doing a team up of villains, because we've done team ups of heroes. It'd be really cool if Sony flipped it on its head. You're invested in the villains. Spider-Man becomes your antagonist, and you're invested in these characters because they've had their own movie. Yeah. If they end up doing that, I will love this. But I'm worried that on the journey to that, it's going to fall apart, because that's historically what happens.
Well, at least they're not trying to do it where it's all grouped together now first, and then trying to split it off. They're at least starting it in what I think is a good order if they're going to end up doing Sinister Six with it.
And you could have Kraven pop up in Venom. You could have any of these villains pop up and start that. You could start that thread unraveling and having these things, because they're all related to this Sonyverse. I mean, do you like Kraven?
Sure. Yeah, don't know much about him, but so we're thinking, Venom, then Kraven.
Silver and Black if Venom does well.
Okay.
And then Chameleon's introduced in Far From Home. We already have Scorpion and Vulture.
So, hey.
And then you probably one more Ditko villain, like something, maybe like a Sandman or something of that ilk.
I mean, I think that would be good, especially with...
Maybe a Goblin.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
But I want Goblin to be a long build. I want Norman introduced, I want Harry introduced, and then I want Goblin stuff, so it's exciting. I want Tom Hanks as Norman Osborn, because it'd be really surprising. Because you'd love him, he's the dad, he's science, and then when he's revealed as a villain, you're like, what? Tom Hanks? He's America's sweetheart. How could you do this?
I can't Tom Hanks is my favorite actor.
And Tom Hanks with that haircut, whatever that would look like.
Ooh.
So, I mean, they do a lot. Like, Spider-Man has a great rogues gallery.
And they have Morbius, right? That's
if they tie that in too.
Wow.
There's a lot.
I mean, it all depends on how they go about this. Like, on paper, I'm kind of like, okay, all right, let's see. Let's see where this can go. And then also for me, y'all know I love my villains. So if they can do this right, they've got my ducats for it. I guess it all depends on how they work Venom, and we'll see that in October. So
it's a lot riding on Venom.
We'll know what tone they're trying to go for with things.
2 months
once we see Venom,
because this year's flying by. We have 2 months to find out that, because it comes out beginning of October. As a Spider-Man's my guy from childhood, so as a little kid, I can't be more excited about the idea of Kraven and Morbius and Venom. To me, I'm just gonna be hyped. So anyone that has any aggression in the live chat or tweeting at me, I'm just excited. I don't care if they're awful. We get a Kraven movie, yes please. Also, someone in the live chat mentioned us not mentioning a theory about the quantum realm because of the Ant-Man just dropping in the UK. That's real. Ant-Man just came out in the UK. We didn't realize that on a couple episodes back, so we're not going to talk about those post-credit scenes until a few weeks down the road for the UK viewers.
So let them discover that like we discovered that.
Yes. Enjoy. So we are now clicking over to a TV time.
Yay.
Dramatic pause.
TV.
Sorry to throw that at Anthony all of a sudden.
He might have walked
and
away
there's some
for a
talking,
second.
and we're gonna it's like a YouTube video. Who knows what's happening? There.
We're talking TV.
I love that the build-up was longer than the riff so much. So, in the world of TV, thank you, Aunt Anthony, we had our Cloak-and-Dagger finale this week, and I realized, talking to McCarty, which is both of your names, Markeia McCarty, right before the show, I hadn't seen her favorite episode. Yeah. So, last week, when she was like, episode 7, when there's that guy at Catatonic, I was like, he was fine, because I'd only seen episode 6, and then episode 7 is so good, so I'd love to talk about the last 3. Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on the final leg of the show?
Okay, well, it's interesting. For 7 through 10, I both got my favorite episode, which was episode 7, and then I got my arguably least favorite episode out of number 9, and it was just for storytelling reasons. I wasn't completely on board with how the narrative was presented. I kind of felt like I was being spoon-fed kind of themes, and I would have preferred to be able to discover that on my own, or like talk that out with other people. That is my own personal thing, so I wasn't completely on board for 9, but exactly like the narrative said is exactly how the episode itself presents itself. But then for episode 7, I just really enjoyed, and I believe I already kind of talked about it, but how Tandy got lost into her obsession. And her obsession happened to be familial love and loss at the same time. And to have this character that is basically represents a type of hope that's her power. I thought that to be incredibly compelling to have that. And then when you have Tyrone, who, okay, really quick, I also really enjoyed how during this entire series, like they started like polar opposites. I mean, they very much were that. And then as it progressed, they slowly both came into the gray area with each other. And then by the end of the entire season, they're at each other's place. And by that, I mean that emotionally and with like familial loss and familial love. And then also mean that geographically with like the locations that they ended up, one at home, one in the church. And I thought that was very excellent storytelling. And I believed the journey on the way. So yeah, but for those last ones, I thought it was an incredible finale. I like that we have a possible villain out of everything at the end. I enjoy that and that villain origin story with that.
And I love they set it up 2 episodes before with that like long speech, that monologue. Like they planted the seeds of that reveal. Either the episode before or 2 episodes before. I like that.
Nice. And then for a good use of narrative, I really enjoyed in the finale when they're setting up everything with the story of the divine pairing.
Oh yeah.
That I love for narratives, where it's just like, hey, so I'm going to tell you all of these facts, these story facts, and you decide for yourself, kind of a thing. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Are you caught up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm part of Marvel TV Weekly's show. Weekly on AfterBuzz, and yeah, we've been talking about it, and it's been really nice. I think that I've never, it's been a while since I've really enjoyed like freeform stuff, and I'm glad that it was brought there. Like, I like that, and I like that, especially in the last episode. I know there were some conflicting feelings about it because some people wanted it to just be more, to last longer. I think they did a good job. And
I liked 10 episodes. I didn't think I would.
Oh, yes, for sure. And they were also talking about stretching that last episode a little bit more. Some of the action, I feel like some people wanted more. I did want more terrors. I did want that. It reminded me of Shaun of the Dead. So I just wanted more. And yeah, I like how their relationship evolved. I liked how Evita evolved as well. That Tyrone's sort of girlfriend. I don't know where they are now. But yeah, like she ended up not being as annoying as I felt she was gonna be. And Detective O'Reilly really taking on a stronger role. Hopefully now as we start season 2 in spring.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Something that I did enjoy also with the dynamic with and what you saying with Evita made me think of it. Yeah. I'm glad that I did not want the two of them to be romantically involved.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad that they didn't do that feeling with it. So I was I enjoyed having Evita there. And then what was his name? Liam. Theo. Yes, Theos are the next Liam, the new Liam. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed having those characters for them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Coy,
what did you think?
We've said largely spoiler free, so I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, we've been keeping it impressions.
Yeah, because we just in case, because it just came out. I really personally, I loved. I think 9 was the episode where they had all the flashbacks. So I liked 9 for the narrative because I wish it was sprinkled out more throughout the series, so it didn't feel like it was sudden. I did like that they had the dolls and all those things set up, but I really liked the tone that felt like it was this universality, and I really liked that I felt like New Orleans was a character like the Harlem of the Netflix universe. As the show progressed, I felt more and more like New Orleans was represented as a character, and I really liked the evolution. I wasn't big on the finale, only in that the songs had been so good. The music in the show is such an important character.
Yeah.
And
We're not going to go into the song.
the
but
song itself was
there's
like,
a song choice.
what is this move? So
Olivia
I didn't.
Holt sang it, I want to say.
It just
sounded
didn't
like
fit
her.
for me. So
Yeah, it was a weird
pulled
choice.
me fully out to a level I like paused it and I was like, I'm not enjoying. Like I literally was like, I don't like this finale. But everything else I really liked. I loved what you said about the character swap. I loved how much they felt like a unit. I loved how the parents weren't like Runaways. I love how the parents weren't one note. I love how like the more you discovered of his dad, you were like, his dad is awesome. And like as the characters had their time to shine, no one felt weak written, no one felt weak willed, no one. And Freeform having so much like drugs and sex, but in a way that didn't feel like it was pandering or not treating teenagers like teenagers. Like the show. It taught us that teenagers are adults to a point and that kids are separate. Like it was this perfect thing like Runaways where it's like, I remember that time in my life. That was how it felt. So it really captured that essence. And it is a great sister show to Runaways. And now that Runaways is on Freeform, it is a very good hope that we get that crossover we've all dreamt of. Because I would love to see Cloak and Dagger with the Runaways. That's the perfect age, the perfect tone. Yes.
Yeah, because and I do like how they even they stand on the shoulders. I guess they stand on the shoulders of the comics with a lot of things. I'm still trying to keep this spoiler free and impression free. I do recommend reading the comics with them. For me personally, I got into Cloak and Dagger because of crossover with Runaways, Brian K. Vaughan's Runaways, and yeah. One of the things that I really love that they bring forth with the comics is that with Tyrone's powers progressing to a level that it is not just a defensive measure, it can become an offensive measure, which is something that is utilized in the comics. Something that I hope for in the future that they'll bring into season 2 is that they can show us, or perhaps Tyrone will remember or be able to interact with that in between. Because when he travels somewhere, there's a place that is there between point A and point B for him, and you see that in the comics, and wow, that is a wild spot to be a part of.
I think season 2 can dive into
season 2 they're going to with things that happened. I believe that their powers are probably more powered up than they realize, and I think that we're going to be able to see what exists between point A and point B with Tyrone. And then there's this whole other stuff with Tandy that we have to look forward to.
I gotta give a shout out to the costume designer for making that cloak look just like the comics.
That
like
was
the evolution of the
gorgeous.
cloak and the way because the lines in the comics give it depth, but in real life, how do you make those stripes work? And they did by tying it into the culture, tying it into his brother, tying it into like New Orleans itself. It looked like New Orleans, and I don't know if many people got it in the audience. I'm going to be vague because it's a light spoiler, but if you guys want to know nothing, there's something that happens near the end of the show that's so cool. There is a beautiful commentary on women in Frigid Syndrome. Women in Frigid Syndrome was something that happened in the 90s where all of the comics were doing this thing where women were used as girlfriends and women were used as plot devices for your heroes. A lot of characters are very thinly written. And Kyle Rayner, my favorite Green Lantern, had a girlfriend who was amazing and fun and charismatic and supportive, and they killed her, shoved her in a fridge as a plot device, and then a bunch of other comics did something similar. So I think it was Time Magazine and CNN were doing this thing called Women in Frigid Syndrome. It became like a cultural stamp, and the show does something referencing that. So it showed me, not only does the show read the comics, it's aware of what comics represent, it's aware of other houses, it's aware of the time, and I really liked that moment because I was like, oh, that's referencing that thing that was so important. So I really love that we've evolved to a point in society where we don't have to talk about women in Frigid Syndrome, but we can kind of like go, look, we've learned. So it was really important, and the Misty Knight reference was so dope.
Yeah. Oh, O'Reilly in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that when you first met her. Like she didn't say a word, and she didn't have to say a word. It was all action driven. I really like that. And then that was maybe a little bit mirrored in the last time that we saw her. Maybe just a little bit. You kind of get it. You didn't need for anything to be said. But just like.
Anything else you guys want to talk before we move on to the exciting Daredevil news?
No, I'm ready to talk
All
about
right.
Daredevil. I'm so excited.
We're getting Daredevil season 3 this year! That means we get 4 shows this year. We got Jessica Jones in the early winter. We are getting Mr. Iron Fist in the fall. We are getting a winter Daredevil, and we just had Luke Cage for this season. So every season, another Defender. I cannot wait for Daredevil. Daredevil has been so consistent for me. I love the show. I can't believe we're getting it this year. I'm so excited. What do you guys think?
Yay.
I love that you're so excited for it. Out of them, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones have been my favorite out of the 4 for the Defenders, and then Luke Cage edged Jessica Jones out with their season 2s. So with Daredevil, with them doing the Born Again storyline, I am just so interested in how they're going to go about that. What is going to happen with Karen? How involved will Kingpin be in everything? And it's just like, read the Born Again storyline, and his mom, oh God, mom, nun mom is is coming into the forefront. So yes, I am extremely excited about that, and the scope that they can take Kingpin with on this, and juxtaposition to Matt Murdock. Really, really excited about that. Read Born Again and talk to us on Twitter about season 3 possibilities. But
and we'll make it bullseye. We'll make it bullseye. We'll make it bullseye.
I think we can practically just confirm. Oh yeah, and bullseye. God, it has to be bullseye. It has to be. You can't. No, it has to be. It's okay. We confirm it's bullseye. And this basically, I mean, everybody's getting a season 2 or season 3, so we're probably gonna have a Defenders 2 down the pike. Depending.
Well, we recently heard they weren't going to, but I think if this does well, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, with who's owning what, and whether things will start in streaming services and so on and so forth. I would love for them to keep this, these properties on Netflix, though, because it's established that tone.
Yeah, and I love the tone. I love the Netflix universe. I love that it's separate. I love that it's important. I love the way they handled Punisher. Punisher is probably number 1 for me.
Punisher, yes.
Somehow Punisher is the best written. Like, the weakest character in the comics is the smartest show. Like that. Oh, it's so good.
Hey, he had a crossover with Archie.
Yeah, he did. And Eminem. There's an Eminem issue.
That's right.
And it's great.
That's right.
Marshall Mathers and Punisher, they don't play.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's and the art's good. You can actually tell it's Marshall. It's crazy.
I freaking love Eminem. So,
he teams up with Punisher because
you can read
the
all
late
about
90s were weird. What do you think about Daredevil getting this year?
I'm so glad, and I'm glad that, I mean, we're already in August, so some people were saying that maybe it'll come out in November, December, because of course we have Iron Fist in September. But
September 7th.
Daredevil was actually the first one.
Spider-Man's September 7th.
Why
are they trying to? You were trying to make me choose between Iron Fist or Spider-Man PS4? Oh,
when my hands get numb, I can turn it off and have Netflix play and go back. Either way, my eyes are bleeding.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's rough. No, it's
PS4.
fine. No, hey, the excitement is real. Daredevil was actually the first TV show that I watched in the Marvel universe. I didn't really watch anything. I'm really hungry. Do you hear that? I'm really hungry. It's been growling like multiple times. But so I freaking love Daredevil, and I love Foggy. Foggy's one of my favorite characters. He's so endearing, and just to see everyone again, because the last time we saw them was Defenders, and that was a year ago.
Yeah.
So, about time.
I'm excited. Daredevil coming out this year was a surprise. I'm stoked. Let's give some Marvelites some love.
Indeed. So, Mladen Kulchin at Kulchin Mladen. Sorry. Lico at Jow RGP. I think y'all are just messing with me at this point. Aaron Wilkerson at Aaron Wilk. Josias Bergenza at Bergenza Josias. Ant Anderson at Niggenod. Dan Burkott at Danny121, 893, Troy Brinkley at PrettyBoyM_soda, Matthew Josso at Mr. J Ninja, Jeremy Allen Jackson at AJ Jackson 26, Sam Delano at Mamo84, Clay Williams at Clayfilm100, Johanna at Artist Reward. I apologize for anybody that I didn't say that correctly before. Feel free to tweet at me phonetically how you say it, and I'll get it right next time. But I don't have any real questions here, unless there were. We're a little bit early. So if there's any questions in the chat room that you want to toss out at us real quick, or there's anything that people wanted to discuss real quick with things like what are you reading or what are you watching?
I'm reading every Marvel book. I've upped it to every single book, and I'm reading 20 DC books a month because I'm trying to get back on my DC game. So I am loving Tom King's Batman. I love Miracle Man. Wonder Woman's fantastic. But there's so much good stuff in Marvel as well. Like the Spider-Man run that just started, it's on issue 3, is so good. Deadpool, there's 2 great books. One's called Deadpool Assassin. It's Mark Bagley, one of my favorites. The other is just Deadpool, and it's like the comic Deadpool. Negasonic is Brienne in it, and it's fantastic. Also, live chat, I was saying that Tom Hanks should be Norman Osborn, not Kraven. I can't picture Tom Hanks as Kraven, but it's very funny. What do you guys
wow.
right? I meant like Norman because I was talking goblins.
Yeah. I couldn't even. I
can't
mean,
even picture the
not,
Hanks, it's just like
not
it's
anything
SNL
against Mr. Hanks, but that's just
Mr. Puppet.
With a line
Is it?
over his shoulder and like a wig that's an SNL skit that's glorious. But
Oh my God.
Norman as
That
Goblin,
I would do a Nicolas Cage before I do a Tom Hanks as Craven.
Then at least
you
it's
know?
crazy.
And then, yeah, at least it'd be like, you know, the.
Javier Bardem or
Nicholas Cage.
like that kind of actor is like Craven for me. I want someone that seems like they can handle themselves like.
Yeah, I need someone a bit feral with some heft.
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying that the actor that you just said that is that, but saying that that's who my Craven is in my head. And super charismatic, like I don't know, Jason Momoa. Yeah, okay. So I know he's part of DC, but yeah,
he would be good.
that type I kind of would like as a Craven type. But
Edgar
in any
Ramirez,
case,
I like. Do you know Edgar Ramirez? He's got like this
you have to
animalistic.
name
Here, I'll
something
show-
that he's just like show me a picture.
Point Break, the new
Point
one.
Break.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I have not watched the new Point Break
He's in the
because I
boxing movie with De Niro.
cannot get over. No.
I think this guy be a great
Original
Craven.
Point Break. Oh.
Edgar Ramirez, I think, be a good Craven.
Oh, he's got some sweet cheeks on his face.
On his face.
that would
This
be
is
nice.
what happens when impressions are like sweet cheeks IMDb
Sweet cheeks
photos.
on
This
his
is where we
face.
get to.
No, I kind of like that because he'd look extremely intense and then he'd smile and be like, "Oh, Craven,
Craven.
that's so Craven." In any case, for things that I've been reading, I've Hit Monkey. I had to do a reread of Hit Monkey because oh my God, it's Hit Monkey. And because I read Hit Monkey, did you know there's a series called Kid Monkey, which is not at all Marvel. I'm reading and reviewing for this app called Comic House, and they're based out of the UK, and it's a lot of indie comics and IDW and the such, and comics that are released by Comic House itself, and I'll put that up on my Twitter. But I've been going through a number of indie comics on that, so I've just been in indie land for this weekend, and so on. And then between that, because of the I know it's DC, but because of the Teen Titans Go movie, which I really enjoyed, and it had I'm not going to say what it had in it.
Spoiler free.
Spoiler free. But it's fun. It's worth it if you like Marvel to go see that movie too. I'll just say that. Okay. Because of that, I started watching actual Teen Titans Go, and oh my God, the waffle
old
song.
style or the new one?
The new one.
Okay.
The new one. Yeah, the waffle song. There's a waffle song. Like they sing waffle, waffle, waffle.
Yay!
Yeah, there's like a disco beat that goes with it. I'm not gonna try. You can YouTube it, but so I've been involved that, which then made me want to start rereading, DC in general. So I've been doing that, but Marvel based. I'm finally able to rewatch Thor Ragnarok. It took me a while because it was very raw for me to watch Ragnarok, knowing where Infinity War began. To like get back on, reconnecting with like, Heimdall stood on the Rainbow Road and, fought with them, that kind of thing. So I've healed enough to be able to watch Thor Ragnarok. So
I'm about to start Flash. I've never watched the Flash show.
Oh, okay.
So now that I finished Cloak-and-Dagger, I mean, Flash is supposed to be incredible, and I have a friend on it, so I'm going to watch Flash from the jump and see how it is. That's my next foray. What about you?
excellent.
I actually have been, I started reading Harry Potter.
You've never read Harry Potter?
I've never read it, but I know. Okay, here's the thing. I used to love reading as a kid. I'd read out loud. I was very animated. And then I just got to the point where in school I had to read certain things and it just became a chore. So I'm making my way back to reading again.
That is a great gateway. But wow.
But wow, right? So I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, but I felt like I was missing out on so much. So I am on chapter 7 of The Sorcerer's Stone.
That is intense.
Okay.
I'm so jealous. That's so much of my life. Like, to rediscover or to discover. Whoa.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Have you been to Harry Potter Land?
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's
just here.
fantastic.
The one here is great, too.
Diagon Alley. Oh, Diagon Alley. I've only been to the one in Orlando.
It's only going to get more special for
amazing.
you as you read it.
Oh, like right now, I think honestly it might have been the trailer for Fantastic Beasts
Yeah.
2 that really got me back into, hey, I have the Gryffindor scarf, but let's do this. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this will really force me to enjoy reading again, which so far so good. Oh my gosh, like what? I can't. Anyway, yeah.
Well, we are almost out of time, and most of the live chat is question free. I think we covered all the news this week. It was one of those weeks where we just had a lot of various small things.
Yes.
And the Samuel L. Jackson news.
And then the tentpole news.
Yes, of course.
The tentpole news.
$700 million Black Panther, pretty exciting. So where can they find you guys on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Maria Menounos, MarkeiaMccarty. I'm going to have a number of new show announcements. We've got 4 in total. One I did today where it's like one of the RPG groups that I've been working with, Tempting Fate RPG. So I've joined their 4th season. That's going to be so much fun. I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be Sundays at 5 p.m. PT. And we're starting off with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy RPG. So, forward to that, and hope to see you there on their Twitch. And I got 3 other announcements. I'm basically waiting for Mercury retrograde to end because everything's just weird right now. But big news, big changes.
Yay! Well, you guys can find me on all social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ. I do a lot of shows on Popcorn Talk and AfterBuzz as well. But yeah, follow me. I am officially a senior contributor for Geek Bomb. So there's a lot of really cool nerdy content coming out that way. So yeah, follow me.
You can find me here every week. I will be missing in 2 weeks. I'm going to Ireland for 2 weeks, so I won't be here. And also, Markeia won't be here for one of those weeks, so there will be a void. We wanted to warn you as soon as possible.
Yeah, so August is going to be a little bit weird and bumpy, but we will let you know as soon as we know, definitely for things. But the 28th is a possibility of us being dark for that week. But we'll see.
Yeah,
so
let you know as soon as this is us letting you know preemptively.
Yes, we'll let you know.
So I will not be here for the 21st or 28th because I'll be flying to Ireland. And then if you're an Irish fan, please find me. I mean, it's an island. And also going to Boston for a wedding. So if you're a Boston fan, I want to see you as well. You can find me here. You can find me on Instagram. I also am taking the mantle of Collider Heroes with Amy Dallin, who's a sweetheart and amazing. Her and I are doing Collider Heroes on Wednesdays. And you can also stay tuned because Mercury retrograde might be affecting me, but there's also some things that are coming in the late fall. So I won't be able to announce it until like October, November, but stuff's happening. And I am so glad we got to do the show. And last week, it's been feeling off because of life, and I still want to give a shout out to John Schnepp and all of his impact on this entire community. This is the first week it's felt like the world again, and this is the first week where this show felt like I could handle it. So thank you for your patience with Markeia and myself having to get through life in order to be here. But you guys have been amazing and very supportive and lovely. So thank you, and please tweet us. We loved talking about all of this stuff.
We do love talking.
Was it what?
The voice of Aunt Anthony?
No, I was just saying look to the wide.
Oh, okay. So we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. I thought he said look to the void.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.